next 3 class periods you have on the wheel, I'm going to show you exactly what I want you to do and what you're going to do to turn them in for a grade. We will do this again later so you can see some things. But we're going to take a half a thing of clay. Now when we get into making actual bowls, bottles, and vases, when I do bowls, I use 1.7 pounds of clay to make a bowl. But we're going to do a cylinder first. So I'm going to cone that up. I'm going to bring it down. And hopefully, as I'm doing this, your brain's going, I've made some connections, I have some questions, and then I'm confused, kind of a thing. Like, I don't get this part. And we can still answer those questions as you go. Up and down. Refine that. I'm going to open this. I'm going really fast. I must be excited to be on the wheel. So if you're ever going too fast and you can't keep your pedal from pushing, push it away from you so that you're not right on top of that pushing down. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to take the water out. I'm going to stop the wheel, and I learned this trick just the other day, which was a kind of a cool trick. I've always used my thumb for this, or my finger for this, where I take this and I put it down right here, and I just measure, and that gives me a good indicator of how thick it is. But I saw this, and they said, take a little piece of clay, put it on the end of your needle tool, push it down in, and when you pull it out, it'll tell you exactly how thick the center of your piece is. So I was like, that's a pretty cool little trick. And I was doing the same thing with my finger, but that's easier for you to grasp, I think. So I'm at 1.5, almost 2 of my wood knives, which is just fine, okay? Especially for a bowl. All right, I'm gonna now open it towards me. Ring finger and middle finger are gonna squeeze gently towards my thumb. And come out there. And a theory here is I want the opening to be the width of where my outside will be when I'm done. So I'm gonna measure this. There's my opening right there. Let's actually go from the needle part. Yeah. So it goes from the needle to just past where the markings are, okay? And I'm gonna lift this up. So I'm gonna squeeze, push in, and lift up. I did that without a sponge. So I'm gonna do this with a sponge. Down at the bottom, I'm gonna squeeze at the bottom, wait for a second, and lift that up. And that's 2 pulls. For you, that might be 3, it might be 4, okay, to get it roughly in here. We're going to now use our metal rib. If you ever have a really crappy sponge, just get rid of it. Ask me for a new one. They deteriorate pretty quickly. We go through probably 100 sponges every school year. So. All right, I'm gonna use the round part on the flat part of my cylinder. Just gonna gently push that on there. I'm not trying to shape it too much. I'm just trying to compress it and clean it up. That gives me a nice, cleaned up outside, okay? I do not rib the inside, can you? Sure you can. Right, you could come in and do that. I'm not going to. I am gonna make sure that the water's out of the inside. Okay, So I have this straight up and down cylinder. The edge here has a little bit of a skirt to it. And I'm going to use either a wood rib or a wood knife. Either one is fine. I'm going to get it wet. And this is on the opposite side, but I'll do it way out here so you can see. But you would do this at 3 o'clock. So you come in here and you're just going to slowly pierce down, just holding steady. If it's gripping or grabbing, add a little bit more water to your tool only, not to the clay. We're just going to come in here. If you can't tell what I'm doing, I'm holding this like a pencil, and then I'm supporting it with my left hand. I'm not trying to do it one-handed. Okay, 2 hands. And we just slowly pierce this down and get rid of that skirt all the way. Always start your wheel and then go to your clay. Don't put it in and then start your wheel. There are a bunch of ways to take this clay off. I just come in here and I do a little notch and I just slowly rotate and just fold that up onto my knife. There are other ways to do that. If you're struggling with that method, I will show you some other ways. And then I just kind of come in here and clean up down at the bottom. So my cylinder is straight up and down for the most part, okay, and it's pretty nice. That'll make a nice little mug. And this is what you're going to do with your cylinder. This is part 1 with your cylinder. We're going to do something else in a second. You're going to cut halfway in and straight up. And you're going to take this part, either get rid of it or whatever. You can lay it down, whatever works for you. And you're going to take either, let me go back here real quick. Remember when I said the outside needs to be about what the inside was? So I'm just a little bit wider on my outside, but that's okay. That's just a kind of a standard. When I'm going to open it, if I want my outside to be 4 inches, my inside should be about 4 inches when I open it up, because I'm going to push and lift up that clay. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. You could also put it here. It doesn't matter. And you're going to then take a photo of that. Okay, we're going to do another photo in just a second. And this tells me a bunch of stuff. We've already talked about some symmetry. So is it centered? Is it too thick? Could you have pulled up more, right? Tells me how high you got that. And I'm going to set this aside for just a second before I talk about grading. I'm going to show you the next thing we're going to do. So you're going to take, and again, when you come back, which you'll start Tuesday, you'll start Wednesday, I can do another quick demo. You're going to make a cylinder, and you're going to attempt to make a bowl. I'm going to do a bigger demo later on bowls, but you're going to start to implement this just a little bit. So you got to keep them separate. You're going to make a cylinder, and then you're going to make a bowl. The biggest difference on making a bowl is we're going to open it up the same. And then after this, I could check my thickness, whatever. After this, instead of pulling straight towards me, so it's a straight up and down wall and flat, I'm going to lift up just a little bit. So before my thumb didn't move at all, this time my thumb is going to lift up. So we're going to come here. I'm going to pull, I call this swooping. That's a word you should remember. Pull towards me a little bit, and I'm going to swoop up. So if I've told this to anybody, I said, we want to learn how to make a cylinder so we can control our clay, so that we can make bowls bottles and vases, but also so we can make better bowls on purpose. Because a lot of you can make a bowl, but it's not on purpose. It just kind of happens. And we want to have this nice bowl shape on the inside. So something I'm looking for, inside starts to have a curve. The outside is straight up and down. The outside doesn't have a curve on it. So now I'm going to come over here to my eagle. Okay, and before I would lift up and tilt in, right? This time I'm going to squeeze, I'm going to swoop out. The inside forms a bowl shape, the outside goes up at an angle. So it looks something like this. And this is one of the reasons why we want to practice our fingers straight across from each other, so we can control where that clay goes. If you just come here and try to lift this into a bowl, you're going to make it too thin at the top, or you're going to make it too thin at the bottom, and it's going to flop. So we're just going to come right here, elbows in, swoop over, grab that clay, start to move. Slowly, always let go slow. So you see how the outside is at an angle and the inside is curved. And notice that that's a bowl, right? So we're going to pull that one more time. I just add a little bit of water, make sure it's all the way around. Up there. And then we're going to do 3 things to this. There will be other things we do later, but I'm going to take my metal rib. And one of the reasons why I want you practicing your metal ribs on your cylinders is because you need to use it on your bowl. And when we use it on our bowl, we're going to use the round part on the inside of our bowl. The round part is going to poke towards me. The little edge there goes to the center. It's going to come down, hit the bottom, bend a little bit, and compress that clay. And then, watch out here, just on the outside, I'm going to push out just a tiny bit. And it's going to give me a little bit of an outside roundness. Up to the top, and you've got yourself a nice little super cereal bowl. We're going to take the flat part of our rib and go on the outside. If I go with the round part, I'm going to have it only touching right here. I'm going to take the flat part. Again, we do this right up here. This is 4, 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'll do it out here so you can see it. We just wrap that around and compress that. And you need to compress your bowls or you're never going to get it off the wheel. We're going to take a wood rib. I use a wood rib specifically because it'll fit underneath that bowl. And I'm going to hold steady and just come in here and slowly pierce this down at the bottom. Can you use a wood knife? The answer is yes. Do I like to? The answer is I don't, because I'll be out here and I tend to hit the rest of my bowl where this wood knife just kicks under just a little bit. Okay, then you're going to throw the best bowl you can. So cylinder, bowl. Let's lift this up. We've ribbed it. Do you see how it's dry? We're going to talk about cleaning up our rims later. And you're going to cut through that. And you're going to take that and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put a wood knife or a needle tool on there so I can see how tall it is, how wide it is, all the great stuff that I want to look at. Let's talk about grading for just a second. So in the monitor here, you can see that. This, from the bottom of my needle tool to the top of where the needle starts, is 5 inches. Okay? Grading is a weird thing. And in most schools, a 5-inch cylinder that is about 3 inches across, that is about a 1/4 inch thick, will get you a B on this assignment. Okay? Okay. So that means 6 inches halfway through the needle tool is an A. B, C, D. Okay? And I hate that grading scale so much. It doesn't account for all the effort you put into it. It doesn't count for all the questions you've asked. And sometimes teachers don't help. And they just like, well, you should just be able to figure it out. So this is how you're graded on this project. Did you spend the 6 days? Okay, so you get your participation points. Did you throw the best cylinder you knew how? So if it's that tall and that thick, okay, if that's where you get to, then you take a photo of it with your bowl, the best bowl you can figure out how to do in the next 3 days. Okay, you take that photo, you upload that to Google Classroom on time. I'm gonna give you a due date. And then you write the little essay about your wheel throwing experience. You'll get an A on this project. Okay, it's that simple. It doesn't matter if it's not the perfect cylinder. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't. I don't care about that. I do care that you put in the effort. So did you spend the time? Did you put in the effort? Did you work through it? And did you do what I asked you to do? Okay? And that can give you an A. Because I really do hate the idea of incrementally, arbitrarily dropping your grade just because you didn't get it up to a certain point. If you get bigger, great. All those things are great. But for this class, no. It will tell me a lot about what you can do, and I'll also be able to give you some feedback on what you could change. Okay, so that enough information for now? Okay, so that's all we got. You're going to pair up, grab a bucket with some water, you're going to grab some big sponges, and you're going to deep clean one of the wheels. And then we'll be done for the day when that's clean. So we have 20 minutes, should take you about 15 minutes to clean. So any questions? Okay, on Friday, we're going to demo handles, we're going to demo mugs, we're going to talk about glazing our figurative sculptures, and I think that's it. That's what we're going to do on Friday. So be here. If you're not here, watch the demo.